Are you having to smoke giant pipe loads of weed just to enjoy your pep czar? Is combustion starting to collapse those lungs like a neutron star? Are you regularly assaulted for vaping in public? Do you require a flamethrower to heat your devices outdoors? Or do you need an engineering degree just to clean it? Does your current vape get you bullied by the cool kids? Are you worried about open flames on the space station? Do you smoke manual devices while driving like an absolute knob? Hush your childish worries, Bellend! The MADHeaters Tempest 2 has arrived! Pair it with the YLL vape IH 3.0 and start reaping the benefits. Tempest 2 owners are 4% more likely to regrow male pattern baldness and are 17% more likely to shake the hand of a 5-star general.
Thank you, MADHeaters. The Tempest 2 is adequately distracting those stinking hippies from the Epstein files.
Some, most, or all of the claims made in the previous segment are partially, entirely, or patently false. None of it should be taken as truth, fact, or gospel. And Bing's Buddery legally releases MADHeaters from all falsehoods, parodies, and absurdisms contained therein. While it may be true that the Tempest 2 is perhaps the greatest analog vaporizer to date, it may not grow back long absent hair or advance your career in the Navy. Please vape responsibly.
What is new with the Tempest 2? Well, a lot, actually. More so in terms of the stems than the heads, although there are differences in the heads, and we'll go over those. The biggest difference is just in the general complexity of the system. The Revolve system is a lot more parts, a lot more O-rings. The Tempest 2 is far, far simpler. Completely 86s the old Revolve system that was used on the Tempest 1. This may come at the lament of many a native user who really enjoy the Revolve system.
Oh, please, God, no.
The Tempest 2 is a completely redesigned, completely new stem to MADHeaters. This just mops the floor with the T1 for me, and it's not because the T1 doesn't perform, it performs excellently. It's just the feel of this, the lung feel, the openness, the general ease of clean, the more simple design, easier maintenance, less O-rings, all of those things coupled together just makes for a way better vape in my personal experience and in my mind. So this is now the true first form of what I would have liked the Tempest to have been. Although I do really like the Revolve system, I just tend to not use, 90% of it. I set it up for direct draw, and the rest of the options and configurability just kind of go unused for me. It very much goes wasted in my hands, whereas this is a lot simpler. It just sets up perfectly for how I like to use things right off the bat. I'm getting fat rips. It has a much wider airflow feel, lung feel. This feels much more restricted by comparison. And And for me, that's a win for direct draw all day. Somehow I doubt it's going to have the same kind of cooling capacity as the revolve stem does, but the problem with that is that this heat shield gets wildly hot. And the reason for that is because the heat shield is essentially right up against the heat sink of the sleeve. So everything gets radiated out to the sleeve great by the helix, but then it just keeps further conducting out to this sleeve, and then the sleeve ends up getting unhandleably hot. So that was always an issue when you were using this with native use, and I would tend to avoid even using it natively. The size of this only allows for finger placement in so many spots before you end up creeping into that burn zone. The Tempest 1 tends to have sort of a Sharpie or maybe a fat pen sort of a feel, which isn't bad, but for big hands, I'll tell you, the Tempest 2 has way more of that sort of cigar-sized feel to it. And having slightly bigger hands, I feel a lot more confident with this size of a heat shield in my hand. So the reason why the Tempest 2 sleeve stays so cool by comparison is that it's not in direct contact with the inner sleeve. While the inner sleeve is still doing its job as a heat sink to pull the heat from the vapor, the heat shield itself is no longer in direct contact with that heat sink, so it can't conduct all of that heat out to this outer part of the heat shield, and so this thing just basically doesn't ever get hot compared to the T1, which got hot quite quickly. Plus, it's just a different type of a system, right? We're not employing a helix that winds around the sleeve and conducts even more heat energy out to the sleeve. This is basically a direct draw, and that sleeve is quite thick on this one too, so that's another thing. Wow, that's dirty. Holy smokes, I need to clean that. So I can't shake the feeling that MADHeaters probably borrowed a lot of what works from the Anvil stem to use on the new Tempest 2 stem. I mean, the easiest way to demonstrate that is just to break them down into their constituent parts, and it becomes pretty glaringly obvious. You break down the Anvil, and you've got your inner condenser, your outer heat shield, your mouthpiece, and your cooling spiral. And you break down the Tempest 2, and it's the same thing. We've got an inner condenser, an outer heat shield, a mouthpiece, and a cooling spiral. When you get them broken down like this, it seems fairly obvious that that's probably where they took the inspiration for that design of this particular stem, although I will say that they have improved it in that the Anvil heat shield can actually get quite hot due to the fact that it's actually conducting heat from this upper part. So it's actually touching this piece, and it ends up conducting heat into this heat shield, and that ends up getting hot. Whereas with the Tempest 2, as I demonstrated earlier, we're not in contact with the inner condenser sleeve, so it doesn't get hot. So while MADHeaters may have borrowed from this design, they've also improved upon it. Okay, so we'll disassemble this quickly and just count up the parts and the O-rings. So first we take apart our mouthpiece, and then the mouthpiece itself has a condenser, and the condenser has its own little turbulator, little spiral in here. So we'll pull that out, which is held in with an O-ring. This is the direct draw mouthpiece condenser. There is another one, so just note that. So we have one part here. We've got a second part here with the inner condenser, and it has one O-ring. So we're up to one O-ring, 2 parts. The third part of the mouthpiece is 3 parts with one O-ring. Now we're going to take out the helix. The helix comes out. It's only one part, but it has 1, 2, 3 O-rings because there's one to hold the inner mouthpiece condenser. So now we're up to 4 pieces and 4 O-rings. And then we have the heat shield and the outer sleeve. The outer sleeve has 1 O-ring and is 1 part. The heat shield has no O-rings and is 1 part. So altogether we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts and 5 O-rings. We're not going to count the O-rings and the bowls because they're essentially a part of the oven system and not a part of the stem system. Here we are with the Tempest 1. Now we'll break down the Tempest 2. The Tempest 2 breaks down into the mouthpiece, which has no O-rings, the large inner spiral, the thick inner condenser tube, which has 1 O-ring, for the heat shield, and that's it. So this stem has 1 O-ring and 4 parts, as compared to 5 O-rings and 6 parts. So in my opinion, you really gotta love the reload system, and you probably really got to be married to it as a native user at this point to choose all those O-rings and all those parts when you can have the simplicity of this design. It's just so much easier in so many ways. It's easier to maintain, it's easier to assemble, it's easier to disassemble, it has better airflow, and yeah, so that's the entirety of the Tempest 2 stem system as compared to the Tempest 1 stem system. In terms of the bowls, the bowl is bigger and it now features 3 positions to set your screens in. So you can see inside of here there's little ridges. You can see the little shelves that are cut for each screen position. And of course mine's right at the bottom because I'm balls to the wall all the time. Whereas the old one had just the 2 positions, and I just have a shitty screen in there, so ignore that. So you've got the 3 bowl settings, which is nice. The new ball screens that hold back the balls are of a locking type, so I have yet to really play with that, but you can see how the screen is different from the first to the second. It's much more intricate, and it's got an F for fuck you or whatever, but this one apparently locks in there, and I have yet to pull it out. I'm going to put some rubies in there, so we'll pull it out and find out. There is a slightly bigger heating zone. You can see that it's just a tad bigger. It's a hair bigger for sure, which allows for greater heating consistency. It covers, a little bit wider of a zone. I find wider bowls is definitely a little bit more efficient than narrow ones in terms of these butane stick vapes, if you will. The bowls still use 2 O-rings apiece. They both still have that sort of castle locking pattern that locks into their stems. They're both using double click discs still. They both use the visual indicator still. Changing these out is much the same, and again, I'm going to refer people to the MADHeaters manual because it's fucking fantastic. If you really want to see in detail how to change out your click discs or your visual indicator, go check out Brenyo's video manual on the Tempest 2 webpage of the MADHeaters website because he does such a good job. And that's essentially your Tempest 2. I absolutely love this vape. I can already tell it's going to be vape of 2025 for me. You'll see in the MADHeaters manual, this is your dot, which corresponds with the hole in the heat shield. And then you can restrict it back by twisting it. And when you tighten down your mouthpiece, that's what holds your position. Personally, I like to do direct draw, so I always just spin it all the way around, and that cuts it off completely. Next, we're going to put on our mouthpiece, and that's the unit assembled. And then we just need to seat our screen, which can be a bit of a bitch. The way that I saw Brenyo do it on the website was to do it from underneath. So you can see how you can just force it up into the grooves. Personally, I just like to shove it all the way to the bottom. If you're going to microdose, just pack less in there. It's not rocket science, right? Just pack less. Next thing is your oven. And of course, the oven has the corresponding castle grooves that line up with the top of the unit. So you just want to make sure that those grab, and then you know you're all set. But yeah, that's it. And the head, I mean, I haven't really run into a reason to clean the head at this point. It's not like it's smoking and full of debris or anything. So there you go. That's it. Perfectly clean Tempest. Doesn't take long. Not a lot of parts. O-rings don't have to be removed. That's your preference. You can leave the O-rings on. You can do whatever you want. It's really easy to clean. This is the one, man. This is the one that's gonna win my reach test for the next long time. I can already see it. Alrighty, so I figured we could try swapping out these balls here and see how difficult it is. Now, these new screens apparently just have a small locking tab. Should just turn a little bit so that those Fs are facing out. And then once it's unlocked, it just pulls out. There we go. Okay, that was easy. So it's basically one little twist to get it to lock in there rather than having to screw it down like the old deal was. That was actually really easy. And there's the stock Zirc balls and the inside, which is actually really nice and clean in there for how much I've used it. Those balls are looking used for sure. And you can see with the screen here, you see how it has 3 little humps around the edge. Those are the locking tabs. And then the inner part of the lid also has some corresponding cutouts where those little locking tabs will go through, and then you just simply give it one little twist and it's locked in there. Let's see how easy it is to fill with other balls. Okay. This is pretty fiddly, my boy. Fucking big hands. It's really a son of a bitch. Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Just fucking go in there already.
Come on, you motherfucker! Ah, shit! God damn it!
I think I got it now. There's my answer. Okay, I finally got it. So the issue is just that what I needed to do was go around and just push down on the locking tabs a little bit because they were catching the edge, but they weren't quite going under the edge where they needed to be. So I just went around and gave them a shove and they just popped back and underneath. And I think the F must indicate that it's locked for, I don't know, fully locked or fucking A. Fucking means fucking A there. It's fucking locked down now. So now I don't have to worry about shit's not going anywhere now.
Thunder rolls like a preacher's curse. Mud creeps up from the river's hearse. Crosses tilt in the sinking clay. Every storm brings a past my way. I hear the bones, they rattle low, calling my name from years ago. Gray water rising, pulling me down. Dirt remembers every sin I found. Ghosts in the puddles, eyes like flame, whispering sorrow, whispering blame. Can't outrun what the flood baptizes. Gray water rising, gray water rising. Lantern flickers by the hollow pine. Roots twist up what I left behind. A ring of shoe, a withered face. The earth still knows what I erased. I walk that shore, boots heavy with time. Each step echoes like a crime. Gray water rising, dragging me home to the sins that turn my soul to stone. Wind hums low like a mourner's hymn. The swamp won't wash what's buried within. No salvation in these swollen tides. Gray water rising, gray water rises. The rain won't quit, the river swells, the ground gives way, the story tells. Bones like prayers floating free. each one whispering judgment on me. Gray water rising, cold and black, pulling me under, won't give me back. Thunder breaks, but the truth survives. Gray water rising, and I'm still alive.
So a couple of the additions to the wand that MADHeaters has released. The stand, this came out originally with the first Tempest, and this piece is the new hands-free adapter so that you can set your Tempest down inside of the wand and just leave it there without having to hold it. And this little piece can screw back and forth to give you the height that you're looking for. It doesn't sit perfectly flush. It kind of does this tilty thing. It's a bit of a janky solution, if I'm honest. It works, and importantly, it isn't sucking energy from the induction of the vape, which apparently was a problem with their glass insert. MADHeaters had formerly had a glass insert, and apparently that one was robbing some of the induction energy from the vape head, so that was less than ideal. So this is kind of the secondary solution that they've come up with. And when you pair them together, it makes the wand sit quite flat. It's kind of nice. It's functional. You know, if you have a wand, for a couple extra bucks, you could grab these parts and make your wand a little bit better for using as a sort of a desktop hands-free induction heater. I'll honestly say this is not my preferred form factor. I'll be holding on to my wand as a backup only, but I've fully moved on to the YLL IH 3.0 simply because I like the form factor a lot better. Not that this is a bad solution in any way, and the wand still works fantastically well for the Tempest 2. So if you already own a wand, I mean, you have a perfectly viable induction heater with a little plastic accessory. Well, you can make it into a desktop.
So exactly how good is the new Tempest 2 from MADHeaters? It is so good that a large-scale reproduction is already on display at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Minsk. It is so good that the Teatro alla Scala in Milan has commissioned an operatic libretto in its honor. It is so good that Studio Ghibli is already working on a hand-drawn animated feature to be released in 2075. It is so good that Harry Anslinger took one look at it and went into an atomic hysteria. If you're in the market for a top analog vape, give the MADHeaters Tempest 2 a proper go. It's the dog's bollocks.
The claims made within the preceding segment may contain intentional falsehoods and or exaggerated inaccuracies. The current absence of an art installation, operatic showcase, and or hand-drawn feature inspired by the Tempest 2 does not preclude the possibility of future instances. Bing's Buddery makes no ownership claims to any crystal ball. The claim that the Tempest 2 is the dog's bollocks has been independently tested and verified by Bing's Buddery, who can also attest to it being the cat's ass, the donkey's dick, and the snake's clitoris. For non-native English speakers, these are paradoxically positive affirmations.